Hi, it's Nick, and welcome to Meeple Leaf. Today I'm going to teach you how to play the game Skull. Now this is a very simple but very fun bluffing game that you can make yourself. You don't have to have a copy of it. It actually originated from bikers who would go to the bar and they'd pick up some coasters and take their Sharpie, because bikers always have a Sharpie on them, and they'd draw some flowers on one and a skull on the other, and they just play Skull in the bar. And the person who published this game, a French game designer, discovered it in a bar that way. So what I have now is a DIY copy. So this style of DIY is very simple. I'm going to show you in a bit how to make it out of cookies, which is a lot more fun. Day of the Dead cookies. So just briefly, you'll need some paper coasters like this. It doesn't matter what they're like as long as they're all the same on the back. And you can get these from a bar, or you can probably get them at the dollar store or whatever. And then you'll need a Sharpie or some kind of marker, and just draw 3 flowers of any design on one, and then a skull on the other. And it doesn't matter if the colors are different. Everyone's can be the same color. It won't get confusing or anything, because you're only shuffling with your own tiles. Okay, and then you'll also need something like this. So it's like a flat mat, like a mat to put your tiles on. That's optional. If you want to keep track of your score, you only need to get 2 points to win. So how it works is you'll have one side for 0 points and one side for 1 point. You can do that however you want. And that's how I made this. We're going to play this through video, so it actually works through video streaming. It's not the best to look at. If you're feeling really creative or crafty, then you can go ahead and make them as fancy as you want. But first, here's how you play. So I've set this up for a 4-player game. The game goes up to 6, and I definitely recommend it with more players. 5 or 6 is a lot of fun. 4 is okay. 3, I wouldn't bother. So it's like a party-style game. The more players, the better. But it's just easier to see with 4. So each player will have a mat. Make sure that the same side is facing up. And then they're going to have their 4 tiles. So 3 flowers and 1 skull. So pick someone to go first. First, take all your tiles off there. What the first player is going to do is they're going to choose one of these tiles from their hand. And they're going to put it face down on their mat. Each other player is going to choose one. I'm just doing it randomly, but of course they'll choose. So you'll get to choose from either your flowers or your skull. Okay, and then when it comes back to the first player, they'll have the choice of either placing another one. Okay, so let's say place some more. Okay, now when it comes back to the purple player here, the purple player is going to choose the other option. So instead of placing, in this case, a 3rd tile, purple player is going to say a number. So what the number means is, say purple player says 4. 4 means that purple believes that they can flip over 4 tiles without revealing a skull. Now, by the way, once someone says a number, then you can no longer place tiles. So that phase is over once someone calls a number. So say purple says 4. And then play passes to blue. Now blue, still part of the same phase, can either say pass, because they don't think that they can flip over that many tiles, or they can raise the bid. Okay, so purple said 4, blue's going to say 5. Brown says pass. Red says pass. Purple says pass. Now everyone has passed but blue, so blue has to flip over 5 tiles without getting a skull. Okay, and you always start with your own tiles. Whenever you flip tiles, it always comes from the top to the bottom. And that applies to both your own and other people's. So blue is going to flip, okay, flower and skull. Okay, so I did it randomly, but that does happen. You sometimes will shoot yourself in the foot because you are trying to get people to believe that both your cards are safe. Okay, like that. And then I could do that. So let's say that blue had placed 2 flowers. So blue's trying to do 5. Now blue can choose from any of these. And you can count how many are in the game. So there was 2 there, and then 5, 6, 7. So of these 7, blue just has to get 3. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, so that's 3, 4, okay. Now do I want to go here or here? Tough call. I think I'm going to go with brown. Okay, so blue got 5. Blue gets a point. Okay, to show that you got a point, you just flip your mat, and then we shuffle your cards, your own cards, of course, only, back together. Everybody shuffles, and then you play another round. So blue won that round. If blue wins again, then blue wins the game. So it's a pretty short game, but it can go longer because it doesn't always end like that. What happens if blue had revealed a skull, like in the first example? So it was something like that. Blue went like that. Oh, I got a skull. So the round stops there, and then what blue does is, so blue didn't get a point. So blue's gonna just shuffle their tiles, pick a random one, but look at it, and put it off to the side, or you can put it underneath your mat. So now blue only has 3 tiles, and only blue knows which 3 tiles they are. One thing you don't want to do is, well, first of all, you don't want to lose all your tiles, because then you're out of the game. Usually the game will be over before someone loses all their tiles. But once you get down to 1, then it can be pretty precarious, because if everyone's seen that tile, they know that you only have a skull left and they're not going to touch you. Or if they've seen both your last 2 tiles and they're both flowers, then they know that you're safe and they can just keep taking your tiles at any time. So don't give that information away. That's pretty much it. So you keep going until someone has gotten 2 points, or until everyone is out of tiles and there's only 1 player left remaining. That is how you play Skull. Next, I'm going to go into the kitchen and show you how to make some Day of the Dead cookies that you can actually use to play with as your tiles. That's kind of a fun replacement. If you have a copy of the game, or if you just plan on using the coasters, then feel free to stop this video now and go on with your life. Otherwise, I'll see you in the kitchen. Okay, so here we have the ingredients. I'll go through them very briefly. You can find more details in the description below with the original recipe that I used. I'm using kind of simplified version of it. I'm not going to be using the colored icing or anything. But here we go, 255 grams all-purpose flour. I've used whole wheat flour before and it worked just fine. This is half a teaspoon kosher salt. This is half a teaspoon ground cinnamon, quarter teaspoon baking powder, quarter teaspoon chipotle powder or ancho chili powder. And this is probably different from cookies that you're used to. So since it's a Day of the Dead recipe, it's using like a Mexican recipe has some chili powder in it. This is actually half a teaspoon because the past couple times that I tried it, I didn't really feel the chili powder coming through. So I'm gonna add a bit more and see how that goes. It's not gonna be super spicy, it's just a little bit of flavor. So here we have butter, 170 grams, non-salted. I had used salted before. The kosher salt adds a nice salty crunch to the cookies, but with the salted butter, it was actually a little bit too salty. So if you do use salted butter, make sure that you don't add the kosher salt. So non-salted is better. This is vegetable shortening, 2 tablespoons, 130 grams sugar. You could probably use stevia or monk fruit or another non-calorie sweetener. I haven't tried it yet. And then you'll want 1 large egg, 5 milliliters or 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, and then 55 grams dark chocolate. This is 50% chocolate because it was on sale, but I've also tried it with 100% dark chocolate, and that worked just fine. So I'd say the darker the better. And next, I won't go through the details, but basically what I'm going to do is combine a few of these at a time to make the dough. Okay, and there's the dough, nothing too fancy. Now, first we're going to put it into 2 balls, wrap it in plastic, and put it in the fridge for at least a couple hours, otherwise it'll be really sticky. And here we have some of the first batch. So those 2 balls of dough made enough for 2 sets of these, plus there's some left over. And you do have to work pretty quickly when you get them out, because once the dough heats up, comes closer to room temperature, then it gets very sticky. So I have the other batch in the freezer right now to make them more manageable. And what you want to do is, I have these cookie cutters here that I bought online. I'll put a link in the description below. They're about $14 for the set. And then I realized I could just 3D print these. There are lots of 3D printing cookie cutters online. But those seem to work pretty well. And you don't want to cut the cookie right down to the bottom. So what I've done is I just took this red Dixie cup, just happened to be the right size, to go around the outside of this. And then I just put an imprint on that, and then same with the flowers. And then I use a straw for the eyes and the middle of the flower. And now I'm going to bake them for 10 to 12 minutes, probably on the longer side because I want them a little bit more solid. And here we have the final product. So they turned out pretty well. They're still a little bit soft. I had enough to make some mats, one for each set. And as you can see, I also tried to put some icing on one set. Here's the one with icing. I think it looks all right. This is the first time I've actually used icing to decorate anything, so it looks kind of crappy. I don't know how hard it will get, so I didn't put icing on the other set. I still have a bunch left over. And then these are just some other leftover ones that I had with the set. So this is supposed to be a rose. Some kind, looks like a rabbit maybe. These ones actually kind of burned, but they came out nice and crispy. And yeah, I think the thickness and everything should be good. So I'll leave those overnight and see how the icing dries. And here we have the final product. Let's see how they turned out. So the icing looks pretty solid. It was in the fridge. I took it out for a while just to make sure that it wasn't solid because it was cold. It still looks all right. You can kind of push it down. The recipe said to not wrap it in plastic, so the idea is that you'd be able to have these cookies as cards and just shuffle them together. The ones without the icing might work slightly better. So here they are. So they're definitely going to be easier to shuffle. And then this particular mat here I kind of broke when I was moving it. So I used the icing to hopefully repair that a bit. But yeah, it looks like the ones without the icing are going to work better. And there we have it. That's how you play Skull and how you can make your own edible version, which is just as fun to make as it is to play and then to eat. So 3-for-1 package deal. Thanks so much for watching and happy gaming.